الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات والله بما تعملون خبير.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله عز وجل وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدع وكل بدعة دلالة وكل دلالة في النار. وبعد. We welcome the dear brothers and sisters to our third lesson from this amazing book and its explanation on the 18th of Rajab in the year 1445 al-Hijrah, corresponding to the 30th of January the year 2024. And the book is the explanation of the 6 principles which was originally by the Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhāb rahimahullah ta'ala, the 6 principles about the Aqeedah and shirk and these matters. And the book that we'll be studying inshaAllah bi'idhnillah, along with a previous book that we were reading, the introduction to of Sheikh Salih Fawzan, we are now referring to inshaAllah explanation by our Sheikh Ubayd ibn Abdullah ibn Sulaiman al-Jabari rahimahullah ta'ala rahmatan wasi'ah, who used to be a teacher in the Jamia Islamiyya in Medina. The book is called Tanbih ذوي العقول السليمة إلى فوائد مستنبطة من ستة أصول العظيمة. It is bringing attention to those who have the correct intellect to the benefits extracted from the 6 amazing principles. And we are beginning inshaAllah bi'idhnillah with tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with Allah's permission, the first principle. So the first principle, Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah said, al-asl al-awwal, the first principle, al-ikhlāsu dīnu lillah ta'ala wahdahu la sharīka lahu. The ikhlās, the first principle is having sincerity, pure sincerity of the deen for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, without putting any partners with him. وَبَيَانْ ضِدِّهِ الَّذِي هُوَ الشِّرْكُ بِاللَّهِ, and the explanation or the clarification of that which opposes that, or is contrast to tawheed or ikhlās, which is shirk billah, associating partner with Allah. وكون أكثر القرآن في بيان هذا الأصل من وجوه شتى, that the matter is that most of the Quran explain this principle from different angles, from different points. بكلام يفهم الأبلد العام, with speech which is so clear that even the most foolish of the common folk, the general people, would understand. ثم لما سار على أكثر الأمة ما صار, and then what happened to most of the ummah, what occurred to most of the ummah, أظهر لهم الشيطان إخلاص في سورة تنقص الصالحين, then the shaitan made it appear to the people, made ikhlās appear to the people in a form which was belittling the righteous people, والتقصير في حقوقهم, and being deficient in their rights, the rights of these righteous people. وأظهر لهم الشرك بالله في سورة محبة الصالحين وأتباعهم, and he made it occur, made it appear to the people. He made shirk appear to the people, so saying partners with Allah, in a form of loving the righteous and following and their followers. So Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah starts with this asl, this foundation. And this is the foundation that most scholars begin their books with and their advice with, which is about having sincerity purely for Allah's sake. Doing everything purely for Allah's sake and not for anybody else. It begins with that, and he mentions, Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah mentions that the opposite of sincerity is shirk. So a person falls into associating partners with Allah, committing shirk, whether it's major shirk or the lesser shirk, when he does not have sincerity for Allah alone. Then Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah explains that most of the Quran is taken up with this principle of having sincerity for Allah's sake, from many different angles, from many different points. So much so, it's very simple even for the most foolish, most idiotic person to understand it. But then what happened to the ummah? That the shaitan deceived them. He deceived them. And he made them appear like shirk was, in a form that the people started belittling the righteous. So you find this to be the case, that when a righteous person comes along, the people, they start attacking him and they start criticizing him. Anybody that's religious, they start saying, oh, you're doing this to show off. The shaitan makes them say this, makes them attack that person, because either they feel guilty that they're not practicing Islam, or they're not praying and they're not doing anything, or that the evil that the shaitan has caused in them, that they belittle righteous people. And this is unfortunate that, and then sometimes they themselves, these righteous people, are not sincere in what they're doing, so they start cheating the people and robbing the people and doing it for money and doing it for fame, and so people get the wrong understanding of who the righteous people should be. And then the shaitan makes it appear to the other people who go to the other extreme that they have shirk in the form of their love for the righteous and their followers. So like the Sufiya, those who submit themselves to their sheikh. For example, they say that the follower of a sheikh, a Sufi sheikh, is like a dead person in front of the one who's washing him before burial. That he just can't do anything, or has no choice and cannot do anything, but he has to submit to his sheikh. This is how some of these people, they fall into shirk with their Sufi sheikhs. So our Shaykh Ubayd al-Jabri rahimahullah ta'ala begins by saying, أقول قوله رحمه الله ستة أصول. I say that the statement of Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah, 6 principles. والأصول جمع الأصل وهو في اللغة ما يبنى عليه غيره. The Shaykh says, and he's talking about the Arabic language, that al-Usūl is a plural of asl, which means principle, and in the Arabic language it is something which is built upon. That's what a principle thing, a foundation, is built upon. ومنه الأساس أصل البناء, and it is the foundation of the building that you build. And he says, well, جذع أصل الشجرة, and the root is the foundation of a tree. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, the Shaykh says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, قال الله تعالى ضرب الله مثلا كلمة طيبة that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings forward a parable, an example, the like of a good statement, good word a person says, is like kashajaratin tayyiba. When a person says a good statement, when he says La ilaha illallah, the great reward that he gets. When he says Subhanallah, the great reward that he gets. A good statement in joining the good and forbidding the evil, the great reward that he gets. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings us this parable, this example of a good statement is like a tree, kashajaratin tayyiba. Okay, it's like a good tree. Asluha thabit, that the foundation is strong and firm. وَفُرُوءَهَا فِي السَّمَاءِ, and its branches reach up to the sky. And the scholars of tafsir, when they mention this ayah, they talk about that this is the word La ilaha illallah, the meaning of La ilaha illallah. That is a strong foundation and it extends up higher and higher. The Shaykh says, وَالْمُرَادْ هُنَا بيان قواعد المستنبطة من كتاب السنة, that the intent here is to explain, clarify the principles extracted from the book and the sunnah, للدلالة على كمال حكمة وقدرة الله، على كمال حكمة وقدرة الله عز وجل وكمال هديه وتشريعه. So the Shaykh says here, these principles which are extracted from the book and the sunnah show and indicate to the perfect wisdom and the perfect capability of Allah Azza wa Jal, wa kamal hadihi, and his perfect guidance, and his sharia and his legislation. So this is what these principles that were extracted from the book of the Sunnah show us in this booklet. The Shaykh says, هذه ستة القواعد استنبتها الشيخ من الكتاب والسنة. These 6 principles, the Shaykh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah extracted them from the book and the Sunnah. وسيظهر أن هذا الاستنباط واضح لا غرابة فيه ولا تكلف. And it will become apparent to you, or become apparent that this extraction, these benefits, are very clear. There's no doubt about them, and there's no hardship in understanding them or deriving them. The Shaykh says, فَالْأَصْلُ الْأَوَّلِ هُوَ الْإِخْلَاصُ دِينُ لِلَّهِ. So the first principle here is having sincerity of the religion for Allah, meaning that you're truthful in your religion for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you're truthful in obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you submit and you make the religion purely for Allah's sake, not for showing off, not for any benefit, not for any worldly gain or anything like this, but rather purely for Allah's sake. والإخلاص, the Shaykh says, معناه في لغة, firstly, that the Shaykh is bringing it in the Arabic language with the meaning of al-ikhlas, sincerity, purity, is at-tasfiyah. At-tasfiyah is purification, purifying something from something else. Tasfiyah. And we have this very famous statement of Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah, who really propagated this aspect of tasfiyah wa tarbiyah. You may hear this statement quite often. Tasfiyah with the sword, tasfiyah with tarbiyah. Tasfiyah is the purification of the religion, purifying the religion from weak, fabricated hadith. Weak and fabricated hadith. So the people only have access to the authentic hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Tasfiyah of the religion from the shirk that people start committing in the name of Islam. So we're purifying Islam from these false, negative, wrong, incorrect ideas. Tasfiyah, purifying the religion from the innovation which has entered into the religion in the name of Islam. New, fabricated, newly invented acts of worship which people think are from the religion of Islam, and they have nothing to do with the religion of Islam. And this is a protection for our religion from being changed. This aspect of bid'ah and understanding bid'ah innovation is a form of protection for our religion. Then the Shaykh says, يقال خلص الأصل خلص الأصل أو خلص الأصل أي صفاه من الشوائب. يعني that it is said in Arabic language خلص الأصل يعني pure honey, يعني meaning that it's been purified, it's been cleaned from the impurities, yani from all the little bits and pieces and things and whatever, so you get pure honey. That's in the Arabic language. خلص الأصل yani it's been purified, from the word خلص, ikhlās. Then the Shaykh goes on to talk about al-istilahan, the definition according to the religion. Remember that the scholars mention, or the students of knowledge mention, that when taking down notes or writing down points, you write down the main points. So for example, with here the first principle, sincerity for Allah in the religion, the definition, and these type of things. You look out for references, ayat, and these type of things. The Shaykh says, وَإِسْتِلَاهًا, the definition according to the Sharia, تخليص الإبادة وتصفيتها من الشرك. It is purifying or sincere worship and purifying it from shirk, cleaning it, separating it from shirk. ظاهرا وباطنا, يعني the outward shirk and the inward shirk, or the hidden shirk. The Shaykh says, فالشرك الظاهر أنواع. The apparent shirk is of different types. منها شرك الدعوة والشرك الطاعة. هذا هو الشرك الظاهر. The shirk of da'wah, yani calling upon, making dua, calling upon, invoking, yani the dead, or calling upon or invoking the dead person in a shrine, or in a shrine, that a person goes there and makes dua to that dead person in the grave. That is shirk al-da'wah. Wa shirk al-ta'a is shirk in obedience, total blind obedience to whatever some shaykh or whatever this person says, with blindly accepting that matter which is against the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that person makes it halal, says, oh well, you have to obey me in this, and even though it's haram, it's a matter which is haram, it says you have to obey me, and that person willingly obeys that person, that ruler or that leader or that shaykh, and he has committed shirk in obedience. And this is the apparent shirk al-zahir. Then the Shaykh says, Shaykh Ubaid, he says, a-shirk al-batin, the hidden shirk, or the inward shirk. The Shaykh says, shirk al-batin anwa, is of different types. Minha, now he gives a couple of examples. Shirk al-muhabba wal-riya. The shirk al-muhabba is loving someone equally or above loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shirk al-muhabba is committing shirk in loving somebody equivalent to Allah or above Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is shirk al-muhabba, because we cannot love something or anyone or anything more than we have love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't even love the Prophet ﷺ as much as we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our love for our Creator, our love in our hearts for our Creator, is greater than love for anything else in the world, in this world. So this is a shirk which is hidden inside, internal. And likewise the Shaykh says, وَالرِّيَا, which is showing off. This is a hidden type of shirk, that a person loves to be praised, He loves to show off. Oh, look how many people are listening to me. Look how many people like me. Look how I'm wanted by the people. This is shirk al-asghar. Shaykh says, وَهُوَ الشِّرْكَ الْأَصْغَرُ إِذَا كَانَ يَسِيرًا, if it is slight. So shirk al-batin, the hidden shirk or the internal shirk, is of different types. Shirk al-muhabba or shirk of love, and al-riya, showing off. It is shirk which is less asghar, and it is if it is slight. The Shaykh says, وَالْأَدِلَّةُ عَلَى أَنَّ الْإِخْلَاص شَرْطٌ فِي الْقَبُولِ كُلُّ إِبَادَةٍ مِنْ كِتَابِ اللَّهِ وَسُنَّةً تَفَوْقَ الْحَصْرِ. The Shaykh says that the evidences, the proofs, that al-ikhlas, that sincerity, is a condition of acceptance of all worship from the book and the sunnah. The evidences from the book and the sunnah are more than what a person can enumerate. It's more than what you can count. The evidence is to show that sincerity, you must have sincerity. It's a condition of to have sincerity for Allah to accept our every worship from the book and the sunnah is more than can be counted. The Shaykh says, وَسَيَأْتِي بَيَانَهَا بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ إِنْ شَاء اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. And this explanation of these evidences will be mentioned very soon. Then the Shaykh mentions قوله, يعني Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab's statement, إخلاص الدين. He mentions sincerity of the religion. The Shaykh says, يريد بالدين الإسلام. He means by it the religion of Islam. Only the religion of Islam is the religion that Allah will accept. Inna deen Allah al-Islam. The religion to Allah is Islam. This is the only religion that Allah will accept. He won't accept any other religion. And subhanallah, people have become Muslim by just reading this one ayah. Inna deena inda Allah al-Islam. That the religion to Allah is Islam. The religion to Allah is al-Islam. There's a very famous Shaykh, rahimahullah ta'ala, Shaykh Diya Rahman al-Adhami, rahimahullah ta'ala. He was a scholar of hadith who lived in Medina, and he has a few famous books like Sunan al-Kubra al-Bayhaqi, which is a very big collection of hadith, and he has a collection of hadith called Shamil al-Hadith, a big collection, and he has written books on the sciences of hadith, many books. This person, this Shaykh, he used to be a Hindu. He used to be a Hindu, and when he was around 16 years old, he used to study books about religion, and he came across Islam, and he said that coming across a book about Islam made me want to study about my own religion a lot more. So I started studying about Hinduism a lot more, and then I started reading, because I wanted to refute Islam. I read books about Islam, and I came across this verse in the Quran, Inna deen inda Allah al-Islam, that indeed the only religion that Allah will accept, or the religion to Allah, is al-Islam. And he said that fell into my heart. That was the key to my heart. When I read that ayah, I couldn't get this out of my heart. So I started studying more about Islam, and I started studying and learning, and he had learned so much. He learned some Arabic, he had read the Quran, read the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. This is all before becoming Muslim. All before becoming Muslim. So then he eventually accepted Islam. But obviously, he was living amongst the mushrikeen, the Hindus, who hate Islam. They hate for anybody to become Muslim, because they worship so many different gods. They worship so many different statues and idols. So they wanted to kill him. So he had to leave that place. He had to leave that place, and he went to another place where they didn't know who he was, and he started studying Islam. He became Muslim and he started studying Islam, so much so that he was then he came to Saudi Arabia. He started studying in the Islamic University of Medina, and then he went on to Egypt just to got his PhD and he was in Medina, and he became the principal of the faculty of Kulliyat al-Hadith, the faculty of Hadith in the Jamia Islamiyya Medina. And then he retired and he wrote, and he had a lot of wonderful books, especially in the sciences of Hadith. So he was known as a Muhaddith. Rahimahullah ta'ala, who passed away, I think it was last year or the year before. Rahimahullah ta'ala. Rahmatan wasi'a. So, here, the Shaykh mentions al-Ikhlās ad-Din yuridu bi-Din al-Islam, the religion of Islam, because Islam is a religion, pure religion. It's pure. It's not mixed with anything else. It's not mixed with any doubts and shubahat and uncertainties. It is a strong religion. It's a religion of worshipping Allah alone, without putting any partners with Him. It's a religion of following Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in everything. So it's a very clear religion. The Shaykh says, al-Ikhlāsu dīnu lillah wal-murad, and having sincerity of religion for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or making the deen sincere for Allah, and the meaning is ifrād Allah wahdahu bil ibadah, singling out Allah alone with worship. And we know that that is the definition for Tawheed. Somebody asks us, what is the definition of Tawheed? We say singling out Allah alone with worship. So ifrād Allah wahdahu bil ibadah. The Shaykh is saying the Ikhlāsu din lillah is the same as this. It's the same definition. So the whole of the religion is sincerity, truthfulness, being pure on this truth, sincerity. The Shaykh says, وهذا هو اتفاق كلمة الرسل من لدن نوح إلى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Shaykh says that this is this statement is a statement which is agreed upon amongst the messengers, starting from Nuh alayhi salam right down to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That this is, they're in agreement about this. And he's singling out Allah alone for worship. The Shaykh said, اتفقت كلمة الرسل من أولهم إلى آخرهم. The statement, or the statement of the messengers, what they said, what they preached, is they're in agreement about this from the first of them to the last of them. على دعوة الناس إلى عبادة الله وحده, of calling the people, inviting the people to the worship of Allah alone, not to associate partners with Him. The Shaykh says, فلو كانت الرسل دعت قومها إلى عبادة الله هكذا مجردة. So if the messengers invited their people, called their people to the worship of Allah, just alone to the worship of Allah, ما حصل النزاع وخصومة ومفاصلة وبغضاء وعداوة, then dissension and disagreement and separation and hatred and enmity would not have occurred. The Shaykh is saying, if the messenger said, come to the worship of Allah, just that, they only said, come to the worship of Allah, right? Then everything would have been fine. The people wouldn't have dissented and separated and debated and opposed the prophets, the messengers. But the Shaykh is saying here that the messengers على دعوة الناس إلى عبادة الله وحده, only Allah alone, worship Allah, only Allah alone. Because we saw when we studied the previous book, Qawaid al-Arba, the four principles, we saw how Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab brought evidence that shows that the people used to believe in Allah, but they used to associate partners with Allah. So the Shaykh is saying when the messengers called the people only to Allah, leave all these other false deities, leave all this superstition, leave all this shirk, leave all this bid'ah, They opposed the messengers. They debated them. They separated from them. They hated them, and they had enmity towards the messengers. The Shaykh says, لكن السبب البغضاء والمفاصلة والعداوة للرسل هي دعوة إلى عبادة الله وحده. However, the reason for this hatred and the separation and enmity to the messengers, it was the call, the invite to the worship of Allah alone. ونحن نعرف, and we know, أن قريشا لهم عبادات, that the Quraysh had rituals of worship, from fasting, Hajj, was Sadaqah. They used to have these matters. So it was singling out all these aspects of worship for Allah alone. Then the Shaykh says, it brings a chapter heading, Al-Adilla ala wujub al-ikhlās wa tahdhir min al-shirk min al-Qur'an. The evidences which show the obligation of sincerity, obligation of having sincerity, and warning against shirk from the Qur'an. And here the Shaykh brings 4 ayat and he explains them. And then he goes on to bring evidences from the Sunnah of the same issue of having sincerity for Allah and warning against shirk from the Hadith. So the first one, the Shaykh says, وَسَنَذْكُرْ أَمْثِلَةٌ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ الْكَرِيمِ. We will mention some examples from the noble Quran. أَلَا بَيَّنَّاهُ مِنْ اتِّفَاقِ كَلِمَةِ الرُّسُلِ, from what we explained about the agreement of the statement of the messengers, أَلَا دَعَوَ إِلَى عِبَادَةِ اللَّهِ خَالِصًا, to inviting to the worship of Allah sincerely, and worshipping Allah alone. فأولا, the Shaykh says, the first one is the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. And this is in Surah Nahl, ayat 36. The ayah says, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ, that indeed, surely we sent in every ummah a messenger, أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ, whose duty was to call the people, the duty was to tell the people to worship Allah, وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ, and keep away and leave off and keep away from the taghut, the false deities. The Shaykh says, فَالَّذِي اتَّفَقَتْ عَلَيْهِ كَلِمَةُ الرُّسُلِ هُنَا, and what the messengers, the statement or the call of the messengers, what is agreed upon here, وَالْأَمَرْ بِعِبَادَةِ اللَّهِ, is the command to worship Allah, وَاجْتِنَابُ الطَّاغُوتِ, and to keep away from false deities. The Shaykh says, وَهَذِهِ صِيغَةُ عَمُومٍ, and this is a general command, or a general ruling. This ayah, it's a general ruling. So it tells us about having purity, sincerity of worshipping Allah alone. This was their call. All the prophets called to this. All the messengers called to this. And to get rid and leave off false deities. So this is the first evidence for this. Obligation of ikhlās, sincerity. Because remember, the Shaykh is linking sincerity to Tawheed. You can't have Tawheed and not have sincerity. You can't have sincerity and not have Tawheed. They go hand in hand. It's ifrād Allah Ta'ala bil ibadah, singling out Allah alone with worship. So we're making our acts purely for Allah's sake, not some gain, worldly gain of fame. You know, the non-Muslims, they have this concept of fame and fortune, glory and fortune, glory and fame. And that's why they push, especially through social media, they push this idea, and they push this. They proclaim it, and they push this idea that yes, you should flaunt what you've got, show off what you have. So now with Instagram and Twitter and these type of things, people have, and YouTube especially, you have these people that are called influencers. Subhanallah, la ilaha illallah. Look how shocking it is, because we used to see and read about and hear about the Salaf and the righteous people. They used to hide their good acts. They used to hide their skills and their abilities. They didn't want to show off to the people. They were very scared and fearful of the evil eye. They were fearful that they wouldn't have sincerity and the shaitan would attack them. But here, with this new modern age, so-called modern age, civilization, social media, which is plagued, which is a cancer for the people. Because what happens is that when a person can't become famous anymore, when people don't look up to him anymore, when people are fed up of him and turn to other people, he becomes destroyed, he becomes crushed, and he wants to end his life. I've seen it happen so many times. Yeah? So many times you can see it. A person is reduced to tears and crumbled on the floor. They're crying out of the great pain that they're suffering, which shaitan has caused them to be like this, because they lack fame, they don't have the skills. Rather than relying upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and keeping our deeds and our skills, which Allah gave us initially, Allah gave it to us to see how we're going to use it. We find that these people have no sincerity in what they do whatsoever. So you see these people, they'll make a video and half of it, what they show you, they seem to be sincere. We're going to clean up the beach. And when they stop filming, they leave the rubbish where it is. So what happened to your ikhlās? What happened to your sincerity? What happened to your sincerity? Helping the poor, or picking up stray animals and these type of things. They film it. When they stop filming, and how we know this is because Allah exposes them. Allah exposes them that the recording is carried on, or that statement what they've said is recorded, and then it's broadcasted to the whole of the world. Allah humiliates them, and yet these people still carry on like that, rather than being sincere for Allah's sake and hiding their deeds and hiding their skills and hiding. It doesn't mean that you can't use them. La, use them, but in a good way. Use them sincerely. Use these abilities and skills that Allah's given you sincerely, so you can have barakah in them and be increased in that barakah. If Allah's given you a skill, Allah's given you a talent, use it in the right way, but do it sincerely for Allah's sake. The Shaykh goes on to mention a second point, a second evidence. And our Shaykh Ubaid, rahimahullah ta'ala, was well known for this, that he'd bring first point, second point, third point, and then break it up. Yeah, he would bring. So the first ayah he brought was this ayah in Surah Nahl, ayah 36. And now the Shaykh says, and the second evidence, he says, قص الله سبحانه وتعالى علينا في محكم كتابه. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a story to us in his book, بأن كل نبي أول ما يقرأ به أسماء قومه, that every prophet, that the first thing that reached the ears of these people was Ya qawmi, O my people, i'badullah, worship Allah, ma lakum min ilahin ghayr, you have no other deity except for him. You have no other God except for him. You have no other deity except for him. You have no one to worship other than him. So this is the first statement, and this is the ayah in the Quran. This is the first statement which the prophets or the messengers of the prophets made the people hear. The Shaykh says, هذا ما عرفناه على لسان نوح. This is what we know from the lips of Nuh alayhi salam, وهود, وصالح, and the other prophets, وغيرهم عليهم الصلاة والسلام. فماذا عن محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم مع قومه? So what about what Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم said to his people? The Shaykh says, والجواب وللجواب على هذا السؤال, and the answer to this question, نأخذ آيتين من سورة البقرة. We take 2 ayat from Surah Al-Baqarah. The Shaykh says, he quotes the ayah, the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 22 and 23, I think. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم. O you people, worship your Lord. And this is the first command that comes in the Quran, in the tartib of the Quran, in the order of the Quran. It's the first command. يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم. O you people, worship your Lord. الذي خلقكم, who created you. والذين من قبلكم, and those before you. لعلكم تتقون, that you may have fear of Allah, that you may fear me, and that you may be pious. الذي جعل لكم الأرض فراشا. Allah is the one who placed the earth for you as a floor, as a place to walk upon, as a ground. والسماء بناء وأنزلنا من السماء ماء, and the heavens as a structure above you. وأنزل من السماء, and Allah sent down rain, water from the sky. فأخرج به من الثمرات رزقا لكم, and Allah, with that rain, brought out the thamarat, the produce, the vegetables, the fruits, the produce, as a provision for you. فلا تجعلوا لله أندادا وأنتم تعلمون. So do not place for Allah partners, وأنتم, while you know very well. While you know very well, do not place partners, andad, equals to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Shaykh says, فَبِمَا بَدَأَ اللَّهُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى هَذِهِ آيَاتٍ. What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begin these ayat with? بدأها بأمر الناس بإبادة الله هذا الأول. This is the first thing. This is the first matter. This is the first issue. That he began, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala began commanding the people to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. With that, we've come to the end of today's lesson. Apologize if these lessons seem short, but hopefully, insha'Allah, slowly but surely, insha'Allah, we'll be able to study this booklet, insha'Allah, and take the benefits from this. And benefits are usually taken gradually, and this is what the scholars talk about when they talk about studying knowledge and learning the deen, that it's done gradually. It's not taken all in one big go. It's taken gradually. So we'll end there, which is the second evidence, halfway through the second evidence. Jazakum Allahu khairan for listening. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.